Kim. When we are little children, as we grow up, we look to those who are around us for our experience of what love and healing looks like. It is different for all of us, yet we so desperately need it and not always get it. We are at a time in the world where our need for love, connection, and healing is at an all-time high. Sarah and Ken come to you not as experts, but as humans where love, belonging, and healing is experienced, bringing two generations with different points of view and where we are so similar, where we can get the hard conversations started and love and healing can begin. Welcome to Coffee with Kim's Hearts to Healing.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Yay! Oh my gosh, I am so excited for this today. Last week, you and I discussed that was the first week in over a year that I did not have a coffee with Kim. And as a result of a lot of tech issues and computer issues, that I'm still working on, but I appreciate you popping in because a couple of days ago, one of the things that I love about you, Sarah, is that you're still living at home. And are you still there?
Just lost Wi-Fi connection.
Oh no! Well, you're still living at home.
Yeah, and the house Wi-Fi is very.
I know, but I love it because you and I have some really in-depth conversations, and we had one this morning that we said, "Oh my gosh, we have to get on and share this because it's something that we all struggle with."
Mm-hmm.
That's communication.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think it's really funny because we always, as individuals in a relationship or with friends or anything like that, we always struggle with communication, but we always say that it's like the key factor in any successful friendship or relationship. So it's really strange to me how we struggle so much with it. And I was telling you, right, that, communication is very easy. It's the comprehending part that we get scared of, right? And that's what really clicked with me the other day is it's not that we're scared to communicate to somebody. It's we're afraid that they're not going to be able to comprehend what we're trying to tell them, aka understand what we're trying to tell them. Basically, we're scared of not being understood, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you something all day. I can tell my boyfriend, I can tell whoever anything all day, but if they are not understanding it, it's going to be very difficult. And that's where I think we really need to have patience and being able to, even when we communicate, sticking through it and being able to try to really comprehend what someone is saying.
But I do think there becomes a fear because, and I love that we do this because there's two generations here, right? And lots of different life experience as well.
Yeah.
But sometimes there is a fear because of how the other person reacts.
Yeah, reaction has a lot to play into it as well. I've recognized that when I'm not really being present, right, when someone's communicating to me and I'm not really understanding, right, what they're saying is when reaction comes out of me. I've noticed like when I get worked up, when I'm having a conversation with someone, it's usually because I'm not understanding and then I go into that spiral mode, right? That fear mode. Instead of stopping and trying to ask clarifying questions to help better understand what that person is saying.
And a lot of it's defense too, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have these wounds, we have these hurts from
trauma.
Trauma from either past relationships or a current relationship. Because there's communication, like you said at the very beginning, we have work places of work we have to communicate, customer communication, all of these different experiences make up who we are, right?
Yeah.
Our experience. And so we have a whole world of people with different life experiences trying to talk.
Yeah. Yeah. And which can be great because some of us, we vibe. I've noticed I have some people in my life where I don't even have to communicate. They just know, like it's
Yeah.
weird. Like especially with me and my sister, because we're sisters, sometimes we don't even have to communicate. We just know what's going on. I know if she's going through something that I can just be there, and I know how to be there. So it's like communication doesn't need to necessarily be at 100% all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But you made a good point, because we have different communication styles, right? We all do. And some of us our communication styles don't jive very well.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to communicate that we have different communication styles, because if we don't, then we're just going to keep on going in the circle of not understanding one another and getting in either arguments, disagreements, whatever it might be. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And
Mhm.
so how, you and I were kind of unpacking this the other day. And that's kind of what I wanted to, you're never going to get the essence of it, but I really do want to bring some of the key points to this and unpacking this is what are some of the tools we talked about that we have developed over our lifetimes in that communication, in that how our styles are different, right? Number one, I think you have to care.
Of course. Yeah, you have to care about what you're doing, who you're with, care about yourself too, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Care about yourself enough to want to communicate that. So,
Yeah. So what you brought up some really great things in talking about styles. Can you share some of a little bit about that of how when you're communicating, whether it's with me, other people in your life, and you have those conflicts, right? You're you're not being understood. So what are some of the things that you've done that you said that have been really successful lately?
um, I think, trial and error, right? Um, at the end of the day, it comes to just trying different methods or different tools, whatever you want to use, and seeing what works for you, because it's going to be different for also everybody. So, like, mm, with someone that's really near and dear to my heart, right? Sometimes I really have to hold myself from talking, because I'm such a passionate person and I like to be heard. But at the same time, I really, in order to want myself to be heard, I need to do the same for the other person that I'm talking to as well, or that's talking to me. So, withholding what I want to say, until I feel that person is done talking, right? So I hear their whole point through. Something I really have struggled with, and want to practice more. I made it a goal for me this year, even though it's been tricky. I've been working on it, but also to respect myself, and also wanting someone to um, comprehend and understand what I'm saying when I'm communicating. I've noticed that I need the other person sometimes, if one way that they're saying something to me isn't working, or asking me a question. I need it to be reworded sometimes, for it to click in my head that I know that they're listening and I know that they care, but they're not trying to just, I don't know, like, get a particular answer out of me,
Yeah.
or what it might be. And so I've noticed that sometimes I have to stop the person and be like, "Can you reword that?" Or I'm not understanding what you're trying to ask me. Can you reword that so I can explain it probably, like, more effectively? And I
Yeah.
don't say it that properly in that moment.
No, you are. No, you're making perfect sense because you
Mhm.
have to this is a practice.
Yeah.
Like you said, this is a practice. I know I do the same thing. There's times that you're saying something to me and I start talking over you and you're like, "No, mom," you know, "No."
I yeah, I had to breathe. I'm like, "Can I finish real quick?" I'm like,
Yes.
because I just need to finish what I'm saying, because maybe I'll get to the point afterwards, or yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
It
I come back to this too, really that's really important to me is you teach people number 1 how you want to be treated and you teach people how you want to be communicated with. And
yeah.
it's not that it's your way or the highway, but we have different learning styles as, I taught, for 7 years and we have the visual, we have the auditory, and we have the kinesthetic. And I don't, my auditory is not my strongest suit.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
yeah, so visual, kinesthetic. So even that's what I love about doing this show too, is because I really want to listen and be present to who I'm talking with here on the show.
Yeah. I understand that. I do. I just had to say this real quick, but we did mention, because of all my years of training and like the acting industry, it just came to my head. But I remember that we were saying, I've been trained as an actress, because all acting is listening effectively, because you need to be able to respond naturally. You need to be able to respond like you actually heard what the person was saying, like for the first time. And so I think that's something I'm very hypersensitive in, is
You
when
are.
I know that I'm not being listened to, because I've been trained so long what it's like to be heard and listened, and understood. And so when I'm talking to someone and I don't feel like they're trying to put in their idea or opinion without hearing what I just said. I think that's also another reason I get a lot of us, not even just me, but a lot of us can
Mhm.
get super passionate, is because whether you've been trained for years or not, we're sensitive to it. When we don't feel like we're being heard, that is when a lot of problems can come up, right? And it can turn a discussion or a conversation into an argument, right?
Yeah.
Because arguments is when we just bring emotions into it, and training ourselves, like you say, practicing to just stop and take a second and be able to be like, okay, how can I talk to this person real quick in a respectful way that makes it seem like, I still want to progressively talk about this subject, because I'm still working on it so much. It's just been a big struggle of mine.
It'll be a lifelong. I truly believe it's a lifelong, because there's so many of us, right?
Yeah.
And I think also taking things personal, right? There's that book, The Four Agreements, and I love that book. And
Yeah, me too.
that came to mind
Mhm.
because sometimes, because of our life experiences and things, we think
Mhm.
people are saying something and we're just taking offense to it.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
not intentional. It's sometimes just having that discussion.
Oh yeah, I'll admit 100%. I take things I wish I didn't think I did for a while, and then I accepted that I do have feelings and I am vulnerable, and I do want to be vulnerable, especially like with my partner and stuff. And that my feelings get hurt, and that I take things like I can take things really personally, when at the end of the day it could be just someone's tone, or just something that they're going through, they're tired, whatever it might have been. It's just crazy, because I'm like, I know I shouldn't be taking this personally, because I know that this person's tired, they've been through this, but I don't know, right? What if it's a combination? So I think what is really, you bring up a great point, because I just talked about this the other day. When we get into like taking things personal state, I think it's communicating to the other person, hey, so I just noticed that you said something like this to me in a certain way, and I just want to communicate. I was taking it a little personal because I thought it was targeted towards me. It like is something like the matter is there something that I've done? Because I would love to talk about it. If not, if it's because of XYZ, please let me know. Right? It's just taking that second to say that before you take it so personal to the point where, it becomes something bigger.
And I also love, when we were talking the other day, you also mentioned the fact that something that was just eating at you for a few days.
Oh,
And it's like, you get that stuff, you get that story. I call it the story and the spiral, right?
mm-hmm.
And that story gets bigger and bigger and bigger in our heads.
Yeah. Yeah. We, like, as humans, do that.
Yeah. And so I love that you said you didn't let it last a long time, because sometimes you get that story and you shut down, you
Yep.
want to punish the other person. And
Ooh.
really what you're punishing is yourself
Yeah.
from the
I
relationship.
I didn't even think about that when someone's holding on to those emotions. Like I've noticed I've done that too. Where something's bothering me, and it's not the other person's problem really, because they don't really know what's going on, or they don't know about it, but it's mine. And I notice I take it out on the other person without them knowing what I'm really upset about. So it's just like it's unfair.
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah.
And I love that you said that, that those feelings were just kept, they didn't go away, they didn't dissipate.
Yeah, I
And
let them bottle up a little bit.
then, but you took action.
I did. I didn't blow up at the person. I mostly got upset more with myself, and I got emotional. But yeah, it was something that I forgot where it was where I saw it, but if it's bothering you after, for a day, then you need to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
And I let it go on for like a day and a half or so, or some change. But yeah, it was coming out through my emotions, and the person could feel it. And I was not being truthful about what was upsetting me, because I didn't want to get to that vulnerable state. But it's really important to be vulnerable with those people you hold close to your life, like your family, your friends, your significant other. You have to be vulnerable with them. It's scary, right?
It
It's
is.
easy, but I think once you let your people in your life see that you are able to be, it makes them feel more comfortable. That makes them, because they shouldn't see it as weak, and if they do, that is an issue.
Mhm.
But it's because it's not weak. It's very strong. It takes a lot of strength to do.
One of the things that I had to work on from the past is I was a person that push. Sometimes a conversation and a communication just is not good at that moment.
Yeah.
And it needs to take a breath and a rest
Yep.
and come back to it when both parties, the emotions dissipated. And, that was something that a tool that I had to learn is just like, okay, take a breath, let everybody kind of have their space, come back to it and just ask, hey, is this a good time that we can revisit this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is very important to have that. I think it's difficult when you're with another person, if you're both like that fixer mentality where you just want to fix it. But it can blow up in your face, because it can end up being where if that other person's not really like that, and they do like their space, then it can be no good, right?
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, it takes time to develop that with a person being like, hey, I need to take a moment. I'm getting really like heated up, or whatever you want to say, and be able to communicate that with them, and have them respect it too. I think
You've
that's
you've you've mentioned that word a few times,
yep.
and this is a good place to bring that up
Mm-hmm.
is respect.
Yep.
And communication is a lot of respect.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and not just of other people, but of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Respecting yourself. I think another thing that factors into us being a little bit nervous sometimes to communicate to others is the mere fact that we're scared they're not going to respect us, depending on what we say, right?
Yeah.
If you give them your opinion, or if you give them whatever, they're just gonna, you don't want to feel, no one wants to feel disrespected. So yeah, it does have a big part to play in it.
It does. And also being very, I was talking with a family member yesterday about being sensitive too. Sometimes we are super sensitive.
So
What do you think about that?
that's interesting you bring up, because sensitivity, I don't think is something we can actually control entirely, because I feel like it's kind of ingrained in some people to be more sensitive than others because of whatever we believe in, right? But some of us are to be more sensitive prone. I feel like that's a little bit harder to control, but I feel like taking things personally, that is something you can work on a lot. right?
Mhm.
Sensitivity also, it just has to do with emotions, right? In our core, I feel like our core beliefs and who we are,
Mhm.
which we can sort of like, keep on an even keel, like a scale. But I feel like it's okay to be it's okay to say you're sensitive. It's actually important to tell someone, be like, hey, I'm sensitive being, right? But I can still understand and comprehend and have a conversation. Um, but you can work on taking things personally. Um,
And I think it comes back to what you said before is the clarity. Being really clear and having an understanding of what the person's intention is, what they're wanting to communicate,
mhm.
um, all of that. I think those clarifying questions, I'm kind of taking this a whole back around full circle here,
Yeah.
but but I really do is being clear
Mhm.
and having clarity. And sometimes, like you said earlier, I don't know if I'm explaining this quite right.
Mhm.
Even, with, even with your dad, right? Sometimes I'll be like, okay, this is going to come out wrong. I don't know the right words or the right way to put the
Ah,
words together. So
but you do.
sometimes I'll say that it's going to be messy. So help me unpack this
Ooh,
together.
ooh, yeah. You know what? I didn't even think about like coming at it like that because yeah, there's a lot of situations that can be helpful and even with not your partner, um even a boss, right? Just being like, hey, I don't
Mhm.
really know how to communicate this entirely, but I'm going to try to like tell it best I can. I'm feeling XYZ. It can just be super effective because if you're, yeah, yep.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
everything that we're saying. Yeah, we're talking a lot about personal things, but it could, like we said at the beginning, I mean, we probably spend more time at our job,
Yeah.
our 9 to 5, than we do with our family.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. Like, even when I go to, if you have a more professional workplace or if you have a more casual workplace, it doesn't, at the end of the day, if you need to communicate something that's important, and it's like, it's eating at you or
Affecting
it's,
you.
it's affecting you. Yeah. If it's affecting you in some way, sometimes you just need to get it out. And you set kind of talking beforehand, being like, hey, there's something that has been on my mind lately. I need to be able to communicate it, but I don't know how it's going to entirely come out, or be perceived. So just work with me on this and help me through it, just so that we can get the best outcome.
I love that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we just want the best outcome,
Yeah.
the best for all of us, right?
Mhm.
And oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I know this is a subject that gets talked about. I know it's something that has been on people's hearts, but I love that in doing this show with you, this Hearts to Healing, it really is about being heart centered and about love in all aspects of our life and to have that healing. Because when we work on that healing piece, there's more peace.
Hmm. Yeah. Yep. I was
So
just listening to a song about that the other day. And that just sounds so nice, right? Because I feel like there's so much chaos going on, and some peace in life right now is very much needed.
it is, and I think so much of this has to do with our communication. And
Hmm.
if we
It's
can get better at it, if we can practice these things that we talked about, um, what was your biggest takeaway, do you think, from this conversation?
mm, it just helped me um, kind of remind myself what I truly want to work on. To have, like you said, that's so crazy to have peace, right? I want more peace in my life, and not that I don't have love, but I just feel like I'm on a constant like there's so much going on right in my head and throughout my life. There's just so much that I need to do. I'm in college, but I need to find a job. I need to do this. I need to have a
Got an
partner.
internship. Yeah, you
Yeah,
got a partner.
yeah, and so it's like sometimes that peace, that inner peace is just going everywhere, and just stopping and realizing that the things that don't not forgetting my goals that I want to work on, right? Because sometimes remembering those goals that you want to work on can help bring you that peace again, because it's on bettering yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes we forget to better ourselves because we have so much going on.
We get lots of external stuff, and
Yeah.
being able to turn inside. And I want to bring one more last thing on communication.
Mhm.
And this is an important one. This is communication with ourself.
Yeah.
How do you talk to yourself? What is your self-talk? What are the things that you're saying on the internal? Like you said, that peace, right?
Mhm.
What do we say about how we are performing? How do we talk to ourselves about who we are as a person? How are we being?
Yeah.
Because we get bombarded with, all kinds of stuff. I mean, this show, right, could be considered, oh my gosh, this is another thing to watch, right? But I truly, in doing this, I want it to be something that people are going to get value. They're going to have tools, something they can, an aha moment from having this conversation. And at the very end, we were talking about all the external people, but at the very end of this show, it's about how are we talking to ourselves?
Mhm.
What do we say to ourselves? Do we give ourselves grace? Do we take a breath?
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
for me, that's where it starts, is
Yeah.
with us, the communication.
Uh-huh. 100%. Yep, I couldn't agree more.
So,
Definitely. I mean, just like how you send a "How are you doing?" text to your friend and they send one back, we keep it very cordial. Good, good. But, just asking yourself, how are you doing? Right? Checking in with yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. We
Yeah.
should be checking in ourselves throughout the day.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and I'm going to give you guys a tool for that, because it's something that I teach when I work with people. See this? Set an alarm periodically through the day, and have a little alarm, and have a little alarm that says check in. And you can just write down in your notes, whatever, how are you feeling at that moment? How are you doing? What are your thoughts? What have you been saying to yourself? Another tool.
Love that. Love it.
Yay. All right. We are going to wrap this up. But I want to thank you. Oh, you know what? I didn't look. We have people that have been checking in. I wanted to make sure we had no questions today.
Okay,
Mary
yeah.
Grace, we love you.
Yay! Hi, Mary Grace.
I know. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Yeah. So pick one thing, everyone, from this show today that you want to work on and practice. Remember, I mean, I was a piano player, and anything that you want to get good at, you have to practice. So, and we have a Facebook user says, hi, I wish I knew who you were, but you got to click that little button up at the top. But we are so grateful for those who joined in, who have been watching, who've made comments. And even if you're joining this afterwards, I want to encourage you to go to coffeewithkim.com. I'm redoing the website right now. I forgot to change that. But I would like you to go to, if you're on Facebook, go to our Facebook group, Coffee with Kim, just like it's spelled, and Coffee with Kim Live, also on YouTube. Subscribe there so you get these little conversations that we have and interviews that we have. And if you are part of that community, then you're going to get these all the time. So subscribe, go to Coffee with Kim, and if you have any questions, we will answer them. So, but pick one thing today that you are going to start practicing and working on. So thank you again. Anything you want to say at the end here, Sarah?
Nope, just thank you. You guys have a really great day. And yeah, go enjoy yourselves.
Yep.
Enjoy the
All right.
sun that's
Bye-bye.
coming back out.
Right?